Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dirt Talk Monday edition. Today we've got another Q&A session from submitted questions. Have you got any questions submitted to you, Harrison?
No.
Okay, good. Excellent. Well, fortunately, I've sourced these questions from Instagram, and people send in questions there all the time. But before we begin, if you have questions, send them to dirttalk@buildwith.com. It goes right to Harrison, and then Harrison might ask me those questions at a later date.
Please, because I don't need more emails about YouTube SEO.
I just deleted one a minute ago. I get a few emails every day about SEO. And
who are they? Who are you?
I don't know. I don't even know if they're real. They might not be real.
They might just be bots.
I just delete anything sales related. Just delete.
I think a super intelligent AI got loose, and it's been just creating accounts.
Well, and that's a theory going on is, all right, if AI was getting smarter and smarter, would it let us know?
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
And so there might already be something out there that's way beyond what we think.
Lurking in the shadows.
Lurking in the internet shadows.
But if there's no dirt world, there's no servers for AI to
It's true.
hide in.
Yeah. I start to, my mind goes blank pretty quick once I start thinking on that tangent.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about AI. We're here to talk about the dirt world. So what do you got over there?
I got some questions.
All right.
And I think they're pulled. You said they're pulled off your Instagram.
Yeah. Well, I just I asked for questions maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I took them all. I put them into a spreadsheet, and then I just took a few of them from that spreadsheet for this podcast.
Okay.
But I haven't really thought about these. There's really no strategy behind choosing these. I've just picked, I think, 5 at random.
Great. And we don't have names, so if you hear your question, then
well,
congratulations.
It was months ago. These people probably forgot about their question.
They've already forgotten.
Yeah. I've let them down again.
All right. Well, we're going to answer them regardless. Irregardless. I don't know. So let's dig into the first one. What advice do you have for someone starting a small business?
I've started to think more and more about this recently.
Yep.
And I was listening to a podcast with Andy Frisell and Ed Milet the other day, which was really good. It was Ed interviewing Andy, and I love interviews when Andy's on a different show because you get a different perspective. I've always been a big Andy Frisell fan. And he was talking about how because of this whole push online about entrepreneurship and small business and being your own boss, because of this,
every other post,
a lot of people are doing it thinking it's for them, but he said it's actually done everybody a significant disservice because most everybody would live a better quality of life being an entrepreneur, building something within an existing business rather than building their own business.
Okay.
And I've talked to a lot of people about this. I think it's amazing that anybody can start a business in the dirt world. I think that's awesome. I think the dirt world is still one of the only places, and it could change in the future if some things still go in the direction it's headed, but it's one of the only places where the American dream, I think, is alive, is preserved. Somebody can go out, get a contractor's license for a few $100s and start with nothing really, rent a skid steer from Home Depot and become a contractor, for better or for worse. And I know a lot of huge contractors that have stories like that. They all took a chance, they got a machine, and some of them are doing billions of dollars a year right now, which is just in some of them in one generation too. The guy started in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and now they're a monster organization. It's not even multi-generational, which is the craziest thing about it. So I'm 100% for anybody starting a business. So somebody says I'm starting a business, I'm like, good for you. Awesome. But I would really think twice about it. I think people do it just looking at all of the benefits to it, but there's also a darkness around it at the same time.
Yeah.
And it just depends on what you want. I think if you're a contractor and you want a crew and you want to do the work yourself and you want to make a good living, that's great.
Yeah.
But I've seen it start to spiral out for people when it just starts to grow and grow and grow, and they don't put the systems into place, and they're having to do everything, and they're stressed out, and it just then becomes this terrible thing they didn't really want in the first place. And so if someone's starting a business, I always say, think about where you want to take it before you really get into it, because one, it might not be in your best interest to start a business. It might be in your best interest to live a great life and be able to check out and do things that somebody running a business can't really do from a quality of life standpoint. Like, and what I mean is like not financial, but time and energy, and it just gives you so much more freedom in a lot of ways working somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then if you decide that it is absolutely for you, just figure out where you want to go, because I think a lot of companies would be better served if they had at least thought, hey, I don't want to become huge, or I do want to become huge. Awesome. Just figure out what you want, or at least think about it beforehand. So I think that's my thought on it, is really think, is it for you, and what are you willing to give up? Because I think especially the past few years have been very draining and taxing for me, and I wouldn't trade anything for it. I'm 110% certain I'm on the path I'm supposed to be, but it is pretty brutal a lot of days, and it's not for everybody, and it's not the best quality of life in a lot of ways. And I see a lot of people in their 20s just doing all kinds of fun stuff. And again, I'm not saying I really want to do that, but it's like I don't have a family. That's been put on the back burner. I've had struggles with parents and my father especially because of this, and there's a lot more to it than the good side that's presented on the internet that isn't really true to begin with.
What? You're saying everything on the internet is not true?
There's so many people on there that they have this business, they're making money. Okay, cool. How many people do you employ? None. So what? Is that really a business?
Is it a glorified Etsy shop?
Yeah, you're drop shipping. Cool.
Kind of follow up question to this. Just when you were talking, and I thought about it, like, do you feel like you have to have like your guard up?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's a significant weight to employing people.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's right now with this business, 60 plus families depending really on me at the end of the day is no joke. I mean,
you're not alone. We do have, Randy and Jason and
yes, yeah. But I could do something that would jeopardize the lives of six like that. I mean, all it takes is one action, and that does, I think, for me, carry a lot of weight. I don't know how to put this into words very, very well, but one, I would just say make sure it's for you, and then two, have an idea of where you want to take it before you really get at it. I don't mean have this perfect business plan. I just mean, how far do you really want to go? Because the further you want to go, the more you're gonna have to give up. It's proportional. There's no sneaky path to get it. And I think I've been really well served because I saw these very successful people growing up, and I saw that the effort required to get to that level. And a lot of the stuff on the internet is makes it seem effortless or makes it seem quick. It's not that way. It's not that way in the slightest. And even I get worked up about that in a little bit, but it's like, we've been at it 6 years. I could do this another decade and still have a ways to go. I think it just takes time.
And I think that's where the plan comes into place. Like, I've seen people start like landscaping business as like a contractor. And they really had to whittle down what they really wanted to do. So they got into, very specialized and, for lack of a better term, expensive hardscaping.
Yeah, well, I think
And-
those are the companies that make the most money,
Yeah.
especially in the dirt world. Is if there is a specific market they go after and they're really good at, they make a killing. And then I see too business owners. It could be a similar business. One business owner is always stressed out. Always, their phone is nonstop. They can't take 2 days off. And then the other business owner's like, what's going on, guys? Hey, what can I help you out with? They're cool, calm, collected, probably making more money in a lot of times. And so they just have their business set up differently. And I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. It's also, a lot of people ask how to start a podcast. And I always tell them, have a clear direction, have a clear message. This has a clear concept.
Yeah, there needs to be a purpose behind it.
There needs to be a thread that ties everything together.
Yeah. All right, I want to start a business. Well, why? Why do you want to start a business?
Yeah.
What's the problem you're solving?
Yeah.
What's different about you?
And we've talked about this 1,000 times, which is the only reason that I feel like I can talk about it a little bit, because go back and listen to some of the podcasts and you'll hear some of these things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that one's pretty much fleshed out. So we're going to move on. All right. Best way to get into the dirt world.
This is a tough one, and I'm asked this question probably more often than any other question I'm asked. And I wish I had a really, really nice answer, but the reality is I don't. And that is one of the key problems is the industry needs people so bad, and yet there's no real defined pathways. I pull up in my latest presentation, you look at schools, colleges, you go to any university website, and it's a great example on how to recruit effectively and how to market yourself effectively and how to get people in the door. But you go to contractor websites or whatever it is, and it's just really hard to even apply for these companies that desperately need people. There's a disconnect. There's no real pipeline. And so one, I would look into, are you in a strong union area first and foremost? If you're in a Chicago, for example, the best way in is going through 150, is going through, if you're in New York, if you're in these we were just with 49ers up in Minnesota. If you're in these strong union areas, an apprenticeship is the way to go. However, a majority of people are not in the union nowadays in the construction industry. I grew up in Arizona. Joining the union was not even slightly on the radar because it's all right to work, and that's just not how business is done. So what I had to do was essentially find an opportunity, and people aren't just going to come along and hand you an opportunity. You have to go out and put in a little effort to find it. So the trucks in the neighborhood said Pearson Construction Corporation on them. I Google Pearson Construction Corporation. I find their phone number. I call their office. I researched on their website, who owns this place? Oh, it's Rich Pearson. Of course he would own Pearson Construction Corporation. I called the front desk and I say, hey, I'm a student at Arcadia High School. I would love to sit down with Rich Pearson and talk to him about his career and potentially talk to him about a job and what that might look like. And miraculously, Rich said, okay, you can come down. I met him at his office. I was terrified, but I sit down with him on the other side of his desk and I ask him questions, talk to him for an hour and say, can I have a job? And he says, no, you can't have a job because you're 17 years old. Yeah. And so I wait until I'm 18. I call him back when I'm 18 and he agrees to give me a job as a laborer. I start out as a laborer. I wanted to run equipment, but I'm not going to get into equipment right away. Obviously, I'm going to have to prove myself first. And so that was all I did, was just show up and try to make everybody's life easier. And then, we had a backhoe sitting in the yard. And I didn't grow up around heavy equipment. I had never run heavy equipment up until now, but I wanted to do it so bad. Yeah. But there was a backhoe in the yard. There was a dirt pile. And so when the time was right, I'd build that sense of trust. I asked the foreman, hey, after work, at some point, could I move the backhoe around and start to learn? And he said, okay, sure. And so I spent a little bit of time moving this pile of dirt around from here to there. And then the foreman sees, oh, okay, cool. The kid's not a total idiot. He can actually run this machine. So then, a week later, 2 weeks later, hey, can you take this broom from here to over there? And I don't know really how to run the broom, but of course I'm going to say absolutely I can, and you figure it out. And then 1, 2, 6, I'm starting to run the equipment a little bit more. I'm starting to do a little bit more, and I'm starting to just navigate the dynamic here or there. So one, if you're in a union area, check out the apprenticeships, because again, there's some really strong union areas like Chicago. You want to go through the apprenticeship, but just saying just join the union is not at all applicable either, because they're not oftentimes even existent in some areas, like where I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. And so in that case, you research local companies, you find a way in wherever it is, and then you just work your way up from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get scared off too by like the whole journeyman aspect of unions, because it's not exactly crazy good pay to start with. But if you kind of think about it, like, I mean, you're putting yourself in massive debt if you go to college. No, most people are.
But it's really good pay. No, they're making a ton of money. They're making $30, $40 an hour starting out, right?
Starting?
Yes. In some of these markets.
Well, that's a little different, though.
Yeah. No, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Some of the ones that I've looked at are not as competitive. But yeah, I suppose if you find the right union, but also, I mean, kind of like private businesses too, because I feel like you do have the opportunity to grow a little bit faster. It's not as metered in the way that unions are.
Yeah, but there are some markets you just can't work non-union, like a Chicago.
Yeah,
that's not an option. No. And I wouldn't recommend it. If I lived in Chicago, I'd be joining the union tomorrow, no question about it. And then I would just navigate that system as well as I could and go from there.
And you'll be able to live pretty comfortably in a union in Chicago. Anywhere.
You're good anywhere doing anything. And because most of the time too, you're getting so much overtime, especially as a young person, that you're making a killing.
Yeah, people don't know that.
Yeah, you're making plenty of money. I'll go to the there's some of these like career sites in construction, and I'll go to the average wages on there and salaries, and it's like, where are you pulling this information? Because I mean, yeah, there are some markets, like Tennessee is honestly not that high.
No.
Georgia, a Mississippi, and Alabama, a South Carolina. Like the South is probably the lowest of anywhere in the United States.
Also low cost of living though.
Yeah, no.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
Low cost of living in Nashville? No fucking way. Low cost of living in Atlanta? No fucking way.
Yeah.
Low cost of living in what's happening with South Carolina, North Carolina, Charlotte? That's out the window, dude. So I think wages are going to have to go way up in this area to be competitive. But
they will, though, when they need people bad enough.
Well, they already are. But I just find your way in and work. If you have a family member in the industry, that's the easiest place to start, or a friend.
Yeah.
I would go there first. But if you don't have that, I didn't have that. Find a company, knock on their door, ask for a job. If they tell you no, you ask again, or you go to the next one and you rinse and repeat until someone gives you a shot. Okay, sure, you can go push a broom in our shop. And then you push the hell out of that broom and you can go anywhere from there. Anywhere.
That's what I did. My brother's working in the industry before me.
That's the way to go.
And I was like, hey, man, can I also get a job?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you're going to push a broom. I was, I think, 17, so I was not that concerned about it. But obviously my career took a different trajectory. But it's kind of the same as what we were talking about with small businesses. You have to really be decided on what you want to do.
Yeah, well, you don't need to know.
You don't need to know everything.
No.
First start.
No, construction you don't need to know. You just need to find a way in and navigate it from there. I think finding your way in is probably one of the hardest things you have to do in the industry. It's really, it's for whatever reason, it's really hard to get in. But once you're in, you can start to navigate it. And that's what Rich Pearson told me was, hey, go to work for all different companies and see all different things, because working for a Kiewit is a totally different vibe than working for your local underground utility contractor like me. And I don't know what's best for you, and I can't tell you what's best for you. You just need to go experience it yourself, figure that out. And then, maybe in your 20s, a Kiewit is best. You can go travel. You don't have a family. You don't have kids at home. You can just do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
You can make tons of money. And then you hit 35, you got a family, you want to settle down. Cool. Then you go to work for a local contractor. You can go to work for all different contractors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just look for it. So many people who own companies, CEOs, it's usually just their name and the company as their email.
yeah,
It's really
I do that all the time.
not hard to
I do that all the time.
find
Well,
people.
all you have to do is typically what I do is
Go to LinkedIn.
no. Well, typically the president of the company won't have their email anywhere, but you can go find the email format of the company. Somebody at the company will have their email somewhere. So you find their email. Is it first name dot last name? Is it first letter last name? Is it last name first letter? Whatever it is, and then you find that formula, and then you take their name and plug it into that formula and just start plugging it in until you get an email that goes out instead of bounces right back.
It might work. Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah. Not that that's maybe the smartest thing to do all the time. You have to, but
Why not? I do that every day.
Yeah, I guess so.
Every single day, I'm trying to find someone's email.
Yeah.
That's what I've done with. That's how I've gone onto all the sites, all the mines. Everything I do is
just find people's email
find the right person to talk to.
and then
Find the right person to talk to.
maybe I'm stupid, I guess.
That's all you got to do. You just got to find the right person.
Yeah, no, I mean, and usually they're super thrilled that someone's even asking.
Yeah, they're not going to be annoyed if a young person comes to them and asks for a job.
No, it's just like, dude, it's one email. You know how many emails they get a day?
Well, but also don't be like, well, I emailed them and I never heard back, because these people.
Because it's also one email.
Well, it's just one email. Sometimes they don't even check email. Sometimes you got to email someone 7 times before you get a response. Like, don't be a pain in the ass, but also don't take no for an answer. I would rather you be a pain in the ass than just, oh, well, they didn't message me back, so I never heard back.
Yeah,
bro.
Try a few different things.
Yeah.
Usually companies will have a contact us on their website.
Fuck the contact us.
No.
Fuck that.
No.
That's
go straight to the email.
That's a worthless page. It'll probably just get dumped into a pile of shit. I never waste my time with contact us pages. I go right to the source as I can, or somebody else. If I'm trying to, I'm not always going to go to the president of the company if I want to do something. Like, you have to be smart about it. If I'm trying to do this, I'm going to try to find the right person within that organization for this, because that's oftentimes more effective. But again, if I'm just trying to find a job, I'm just trying to find anybody in that company. I'm going to tell them who I am. Yeah. I have never just gone onto a website, gone onto a careers page, and submitted a resume and crossed my fingers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had any of my jobs ever had I done that. And then even worse, then people get upset because, like, well, they never got back to me. It's like, yeah, should they get back to you? Yeah, probably, but who knows how much shit they get, and that's on you. That's not on them. You're the one that wants to go there. So get in there, and if you put in that effort, you'll be able to go anywhere.
I'd also work on writing and pick out some example emails.
I wrote on social media the other day, I would much rather send me a paragraph on here's who I am and here's why I want to work for you than give me a beautifully executed resume.
Yeah.
The resume, probably not going to look at, honestly. But if I get a letter from somebody that's well thought out, showing that they've put in their homework, I'm going to read that. I'm probably going to respond to that. I might even pick up the phone and call you if you put your phone number there too, because hey, this is unique. Okay, cool. And maybe I don't have something for you, but I'm at least going to say, hey, yeah, thanks for reaching out. I really appreciate the effort.
Yeah, people appreciate kind of individuality, I guess. When I see something that is formatted, like, super nice, but like that doesn't differentiate you from any other email that I get.
No, it doesn't. Well,
you might as well just be a bot. But like point.
Resumes, they all look the same. They all look the same. Yeah. You can spend as much fucking time as you want. They all look the same. And so immediately, unless I'm like a recruiter and my job is to read resumes, I'm probably not going to read a resume just because they all look the same. And I don't really like it doesn't. You don't get past that first. Hey, I'm different. If it looks the same.
Yeah, and I think anyone asking this question, you're already in the right spot.
Yeah.
All right. So we've kind of driven that one into the ground. Next one. How did you start filming? When did you start filming? Why?
It's like my story is not in the slightest bit unique. I, like anybody else, when I was working in construction, would have my phone with me, and when some cool shit would happen, I would take pictures of it. I'd take videos of it because it's cool shit, and I wanted to capture it. I didn't really have any place for it, but I wanted to at least take some pictures of what's going on. And so I, over the course of my time in construction, I did it with my phone, and then I bought a GoPro for some other stuff outside of work, but then I started to bring it to work because I'm like, oh, this is cool. I might be able to play with it on when it's a little slow. Like, so I'd bring a GoPro to work, and within reason. I'm not going to be like, hey, boss, I'm going to take some cool pictures and this and that. But when it's slow or not, and you can set up a GoPro or time lapse or do something fun. And I would do that within reason, but within reason. And then my friend had a drone. My friend DJ had a Phantom 4 when I was at Kiewit. And I would start bringing that to work and filming the blasts. And then I bought a Canon 70D for taking pictures of mountains and hiking and shit. But then I'd bring it to work, and on slow days, we'd have a D10 pushing rocks off of piles. Like, well, this is pretty cool. I'm going to take some pictures with no intent of doing anything with any of these photos. And then I had so much fun with my friend's drone that I'm like, well, I need to buy a drone myself. So then DJI comes out with the Mavic, which is sick at the time because it's a foldable drone. It is wildly small. You go from having to carry around this big case to this little thing that you just throw in a backpack. So I spent a ton of money. It was like $1,500 probably at the time. And I bought this drone, and then I started just taking pictures of job sites around town. And that's essentially how I did it. But I tell people, I was just telling someone this yesterday, I have zero interest in photography. I have zero interest in video. I don't care about taking pictures or any of that. I just like capturing heavy equipment, job sites, hardworking people. That's it. Anything outside of that, I could give a shit about. I don't bring my camera anywhere else but job sites. That's all I want to do. That's it. So really, just like anybody else though, I had a bunch of pictures on my phone, a bunch of videos on my phone, and I just started sharing them on the internet. That was it.
The way to do it.
Yeah.
What do you think was like the first job site that you photographed?
Every site I worked on.
Everything.
Yeah, through college. And then, so Kiewit, for example, Uncle Pete, they have a pretty strict photo policy. So you can sit there and say, well, my company has a pretty strict photo policy. But I found the contact for the media department within Kiewit out of Omaha or wherever the hell they are. And I sent them all my photos from the summer and say, hey, I want to share some of these. I'm just trying to talk about what we're doing. Do you mind running these through a safety review process? And they ran them through their process and say, hey, these are all good. These are not good. This is why. You're good to go. And so then I had approved photographs from my experience at that company to share. I was always trying to do it in a kosher manner. And oftentimes I wouldn't have permission. And I think construction companies saying it's a gray area. And I was very much in the gray for a while. And I don't at all apologize for that or regret it whatsoever. But I was always trying to do the right thing and present everything in a very positive way. It wasn't ever a gotcha. And so if I was taking pictures from outside of a job site without their permission, which I'm fully able to do, I wouldn't post the bad pictures. I wouldn't post the bad videos. I wouldn't want them to look bad. I want them to look good. And so I would at least use that discretion when I was sharing stuff, even if I didn't have the process followed at the time. And this was like very early on before I was officially even doing this on my own.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like you probably had a bit of an eye for it. But it is just that.
I don't think so, though.
Extra thought.
Yeah, people say you have an eye for it. It's like, nah, that's fucking bullshit. I've taken hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of images. That's why I'm good at it, because I've just done it a lot of times. It's like anything else. It's a skill, and there's a bunch. Like if you look back at my original photos, pictures, videos, nothing special about it whatsoever. There was nothing to it. I've just practiced a lot, and I'm really excited about what I'm photographing, which then comes across in, I think, what the photos that I'm able to create. But I think early on, like, and I say that because I don't want other people to think like, well, it's just, I don't have an eye for it. And I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if somebody has an eye for photography and doesn't. I think there's probably, like I said, it's not very unique. I think there's 100,000 people out there that have probably amazing photos, amazing video. I'm sent them online all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I am sent so much sick stuff. There's so many cool photos in my DMs from job sites around the world, mine sites around the world, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's a shame because of a lot of policies that the industry can't talk more about it. And those people don't feel like they can share it openly without getting fired.
Yeah, that's a weird one. And definitely a lot of props to you going through the right channels, because I don't know that I would do the same. I would probably accidentally post something and get fired. But
well, but at that point I wasn't employed by anybody either. So it's like, what are they going to do? Sue me? And it's like, okay, cool, sue me. Like, have at it.
Waste of fucking time.
What are you going to take? Like, how's this going to work? Like, sure, I'll just drag it out and just, I'll represent myself. Like, what are you going to do?
Up.
Yeah.
Not that we're suggesting that you do that. Please don't post anything that you shouldn't be.
But people are smart. They know what they should and shouldn't post. Like, every once in a while, some jackass posts something fucking dumb on the internet. And a lot of times they get fired for it. A lot of times. And I don't feel bad when that happens, because it's like, you knew what you were doing. Like, you knew this wasn't supposed, you knew you weren't supposed to be drifting haul trucks. Like, you know that. I think anybody and their mother could say that is, one, not something you should be doing. Two, to put it on the internet and to think, like, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think they're just like, I can post a photo of the most obscure thing and somebody will say, oh, that's that job site over here. I'm like, how the fuck did you know? I posted this picture of like this rock. How did you know where I was? People know. And so then they get fired. But that's very rare. That's very rare. You see those videos every once in a while in North America. A lot of times the unsafe stuff is abroad in East Asia, whatever it is. Very rare. Most everybody sharing stuff, it's very positive. They're proud of what they're doing. They just want to show it off. They know what's safe and unsafe. They're smart enough to monitor this kind of stuff themselves.
Yeah.
But
so
the lawyers rule the day.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that is the truth. Yeah. So just, guess you're just saying, just do it.
Well,
see what happens.
No.
No?
No.
Don't just do it.
Don't just do it. I would
take some cool pictures, maybe.
No, yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. I would go through the right channels again.
Yeah. Let me clarify. That's not what I meant. Don't just post things.
No, I am definitely not saying that.
But do take some cool pictures for yourself if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, it's not hurting anybody, no. and everybody already does it. This is like, I'm not saying anything new. Again, yeah. I everybody in this industry has cool stuff on their phones, whether they should or shouldn't, and they're not, like, the world's not ending. Yeah. They're just proud of what they do. They just want to show their families what they do. Typically, they just really want to show their families, like, here's what I do every day. But yeah, if you wanted to do something like that more formally, go through the right channels, because it's just
they'll probably be happy that you're even reaching out, because
sometimes it's still a weird world.
I haven't been in it, so I don't.
I wish it was more open. It's not gonna probably get any more open anytime soon, and but that's why I enjoy doing what I'm doing, is because I'm able to spend the time to go through the right channels.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people reach out saying, hey, I'm really appreciative of this because now I can show my kids what I do. And that's awesome to me. And so I get the big corporate governance and environmental regulations and legal hoops and this and that. I totally understand all that. I get it. And so I'm not saying it should just be the wild, wild west.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there was more freedom, I don't think it would get taken advantage of. But I think that's wishful thinking. I think long term, I am happy to spend as much time as I do to get the approvals I do, go through all the loopholes to at least show these operations off, show these projects off, so these people have something that's been blessed by everybody to share.
Just going to move on that one. Best advice for a young guy in a leadership role. Young person in a leadership role.
I just think the number one, at least thing I've learned, is you don't have to act like you know what you're doing. And if you act like you know what you're doing, people know you don't know what you're doing, and you're just gonna go nowhere. I mean, even the other day, someone asked, hey, I'm starting to lead these older guys. They're a lot older than me, so what do I do? And I just said, like, man, if I were in your position, I'd be asking them what they think. I'd be trying to get them involved in the process as much as possible. I'd be trying to learn from them as much as I can. I'd be telling them, hey, guys, I've never done this before. You've done this. How are we going to do this? How are we going to figure this one out? Oh, we're going to do it XYZ. Well, you might have some other information. So it's like, well, hey, actually, this part of this, you guys didn't see this, but this part of the schedule has this. So we actually can't work over there next week. So what do you guys think about working over here and then working over there? Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I just think it's really important to lean on those around you and let them run the show in a lot of ways. Let them make the plan. Let them teach you. I think that humility, which I've not always had and still have to really, really work on, is absolutely key. And the funniest thing was, I look back and I thought I was being humble, but looking back on it, it's like, I thought I knew what I was doing, and I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. And I would have been much better served had I really just wholly accepted that I don't know what I was doing, because then I could have leaned on others more effectively. So at least that's what I've learned, is you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be right all the time. You don't have to be the person in charge. You really just have to listen. You have to get rid of roadblocks for those around you. You have to build relationships with those working for you. You have to care for those working for you. You have to look out for not just your immediate team, but the other teams around you, the business itself. If you do that kind of stuff, there is no question to where you can go. And even like, I'm still in my 20s. I'm going on 29 next month. And going back to the question I was asked, what do you do about these older guys? And since I began the business, I've had Dan helping me build the business.
Yeah.
And I have a role to play. And oftentimes I don't jive with the older generation, the people calling the shots. And I used to take that personally, which is not being humble. But when I have allowed, I do what I do, and then I allow the adults to do what they do in a way. And even though I could have the same conversation, that's not what's important. What's important is that we get this deal done. And so if Dan's more effective in having that conversation with this individual, I'm going to let him do it. I don't need to be involved. I don't need to be, I'm the guy and my name's on everything. I'm the leader. And so I need to be involved. I don't need to be involved in that because I know, or there's a greater risk of that deal not getting done because I'm involved than if I wasn't involved. And so I've learned to also step back and recognize that, hey, I don't need to, I'm not best for this. So I'm not going to go put my nose into it because it's just going to mess things up. So I would say knowing when to step back and then just serving others, there's no question where you can go.
That sounds just like building trust. Yeah.
Trust is huge. And I'm still working on it every single day. How do I build more trust? How do I build relationships? Like, frankly, like we went to trivia last night.
Yeah.
The way I work that out in my head, yeah, it's fun and this and that. I'm happy to participate, and I'm happy to be there. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But for me, the utility of going is to just further build relationships with people. So we're out of work. We don't have many opportunities like that. I need to be more serious about just getting outside of this setting and just being around our people. And it's not like in a manipulative sense or anything like that. It's just like, hey, if I know more about them, they know more about me, we can be more effective there than we can be more effective here. And so to me, it's like last night, it's important, and I don't do enough of that because it's like, well, that helps me build better relationships.
Yeah, no one does enough of that. I mean, it doesn't always feel natural just because a lot of people are different people at work than they are in their life.
Well, it takes work. It takes real work to get to know somebody and like what's going on and like what's happening outside of your life. Like a lot of people, they work with people, they have no fucking clue what these people do outside of the setting. They only know them in this one way. Mm-hmm. No idea what goes on outside of that. And I think,
which is fine. I mean, it's not going to affect anything
as a leader.
Oh.
Yeah, but as a leader, you can't be effective if that's it. And yeah. I don't think you have to be buddies with everybody because I don't think that works out very well.
No.
But they at least have to know that you genuinely care about them. Like
the one that we did with JP.
Yeah,
he talks a lot about being in the SEALs and his role as a younger person leading other guys that are probably older and maybe a little more experienced than him. And he kind of mirrored a lot of what you were saying about asking people their opinion, asking how they want to do it, respecting their method, trusting them. It kind of all comes back to that.
Yeah, and it's not as simple, but it is that simple at the end of the day. It's just like
everything's nuanced, right?
Everything's nuanced. Yeah, but I would just be, if you're a young leader, I would become a student of leadership because it is it's a lifelong pursuit, and
don't be weird about it. But
yeah, but it's a very complex. It's a very complex thing, and I think it takes time to learn, and I'm still so early on in learning.
Yeah,
so early on. But I'm thinking about leadership every single day, 7 days a week, nonstop. How did I do today? How did I communicate? I could have done this better. I'm trying to audit myself nonstop so that I can keep being better and better and better and better and better.
I think that answers it. So last one, fun one. Most unique job site. These are like all over the place, by the way.
Well, I told you, I just selected these and put them on a piece of paper.
I think they're all good though.
Yeah, most unique project site, and we'll probably talk more about this, I think, at some point. I've been to some pretty wild places over the past 7 years now with the job I have, which has been pretty cool. I mean, I've been to South America, I've gone to China, gone to Australia, Europe, all over North America. I think still, I've been to the Middle East 3 times. Mm-hmm. And the Middle East is just amazing. Every time I go there, so thankful for the experience. Mm-hmm. And I first went there in 2019. Zahid, the Caterpillar dealer in Saudi Arabia, reached out and they said, hey, we want you to come out and take some pictures. So I go out there. I knew nothing about the Middle East. I knew what Americans know about the Middle East, and it's bad. It's war torn. There's bombs going off on every street corner, and then you show up, and it's the total opposite. Everybody is so welcoming. No one cares that you're from a totally different part of the world. It's an amazing place. And it's such a shame to me how it's been portrayed primarily by the United States and our government and our military industrial complex. Because I think it's really an extraordinary part of the world. So I've been out there 3 times, and the second time they started to tell us about this project called NEOM, and I didn't know what it was. This was in 2020, beginning of 2021, or maybe beginning of 22. So they say, hey, we're working on this project called NEOM. And I'd never heard it. And it hadn't been publicly talked about yet.
Yeah.
But I saw some literature on it and thought, this is a little out there.
It is a wild concept.
The whole thing's wild. And like a floating city, really, and like this city that's over 100 miles long, and then this and then that. It's just so much. It's like it's
very
so
sci-fi.
Yeah, it's so hard to comprehend. It's like, wow, well, this is cool. Like, yeah, maybe one day they'll do this. And then we go out to these sites, and the earth moving was more than I'd ever seen in my life. And in the States, there's not that many big earth moving projects. Mining is one thing, but put mining aside, civil earth moving projects, there's not that many over 5 million yards.
We're working with the infrastructure that have.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's really not that many jobs. Like there's a handful over 5 million yards at any one time. And I could sit here and probably list them off the top of my head. There's not many. And most of them right now are these battery plants. So rarely are we moving 5 million plus yards for a civil project, for a development of any sort. But you go out there to these projects, and everywhere you look would be the biggest earth moving project in the United States. Everywhere. No joke. I mean, you're driving for hours, and over here there's a monster project, and over here there's a monster project, and trucks going in and out. There's stuff going on everywhere. And I'm asking, like, what is going on? And they say, well, this is the preparation for NEOM. And it's just unbelievable. And so we fast forward to the past holiday season, December, and we get lined out. We with Zahid, we go out lined out with customers, and then we get lined out with NEOM for formal approval to go out there and photograph these operations, which was something I was not expecting, honestly. So we have all of our ducks in a row, and I operate by the fucking book when I'm outside the United States. Like in the States, yeah, all right, I'm like familiar with. There's a little more wiggle room when you're in your own country versus a country halfway around the world, no matter where you are. It'd be the same thing in Germany or wherever. I try to stay very buttoned up because I don't want any kind of issues whatsoever. So we go out there, and just in a 2-year period, the place was totally different. And the main part of this project is called The Line, and it's 100 miles, about 170 kilometers, and basically just 2 towers tall, 2 towers wide, 2 buildings wide, but for 100 miles long. But the craziest thing about the whole project is not actually that. We got to go to that project and see the very first pilings getting drilled and the foundations going in, and it is as real as it gets. But the even crazier thing is just all the infrastructure. When you build a new city from scratch, you have to build all of this other infrastructure to support the city. And so, well, what is this site? Because this site's the biggest earth-moving project I've ever seen. Well, this is going to be the new water treatment plant. We're going to take water from the Red Sea, and it's going to be a desalination plant. Oh, okay, of course. And then what's this? Well, this is a data center. Oh, of course. And then what's going on here? Oh, we're expanding, we're doubling the port, because if we're going to have a city, we're going to have to bring in goods. And then you don't just dig out the port, but then you have to build all of the surrounding port infrastructure. And then what's going on over here? Oh, that's the industrial component, so that there's going to be all of these businesses that are needed to just support the construction, and they need to set up. So that's what we're doing here. It's non-stop. Everywhere there are these monster projects that are being done right now to support this job. And the scale and scope, that's still, I'm thinking about it like, did I really see that? Is that actually going on? And it is as real as anything else I've ever seen.
I think I asked Jack when y'all got back, I was like, is it legit? Like, is it real? And he was like, yeah, dude, they're moving a lot of material.
It's
like,
it's as real as 100,000 people working on it at any given time, which is wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
And yeah, it's just, I don't think for a long time anyone has, like, there hasn't been an undertaking this big.
No, you don't build new cities from scratch.
Yeah.
As much nowadays.
Yeah. Like, that's why a lot of our cities probably have the problems that they do, is because, I mean, some utilities are hundreds of years old.
Oh, and you're just building on shit a lot of times too, like Seattle or San Francisco.
Yeah.
The whole town's burned multiple times. And then what do? You don't clean it up. You just build the city on top of
push more
the
dirt
shit.
over
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and Manhattan was a swamp. Miami was a swamp. Most of the land Miami's built on,
swamp.
Boston swamp. Most of the land Miami's built on didn't exist.
No,
It's all been
dredged up.
Yeah, created, and a lot of it too has been like dewatering. But yeah, I and there's all sorts of opinions on this project.
How many countries are involved? I think.
Everybody, there's a lot of, like, any of the big North American engineering firms are out there. One of the big projects we were on, Bechtel, is doing it. You know, any major firm in the world is out there. All the equipment manufacturers, a lot of European contractors. Like, we were visiting Boskalis, the big Dutch marine construction company. I mean, they're, I think, probably the biggest in the world at marine construction. They have projects everywhere. Yeah, it's just the infrastructure required it's I don't know. I don't even know how to really explain it to somebody and how to put it into, like, put a sense of scale to it, because without seeing it yourself, you can't. And even seeing it yourself, you just almost become, like, desensitized to it. You think, oh yeah, you look to your right, and that would be the wildest earth moving project in the United States. But you're like, oh yeah. And then you look to your left.
Yeah.
Wildest earth-moving project that would exist in the United States. You're like, yeah, more excavators, more dozers. You're like, all right, like, what else is there? You almost get, it almost becomes normal. It's like, yeah,
overwhelming amount.
It's just like how it works here.
And that picture of the, is it Zahid or Zahid? Zahid?
Yeah.
The picture of their yard is insane, because there's just so many machines.
Yeah.
And they need all of them.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, people just, I feel like they don't understand how much skin in the game that the Western world has in the Middle East.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. But
people just think, oh, we just are there for oil.
No, but
it's so much more.
Yeah, the American companies have been doing business out there forever. But manufacturers too. I mean, it's Asian manufacturers, tons of Asian manufacturers.
So good on them for
it's not
building
just
their
one
infrastructure, actually.
Well, you know, what I would say to, like, people when they were criticizing or sending me not kind DMs on the internet was, you know, just imagine if America actually spent our revenue on our country. Like, just imagine if we didn't send hundreds of billions of dollars abroad every year. Like, what could we do? We could do some pretty cool stuff, but no, we're just going to keep sending it abroad.
Well, we do some cool things. I mean, we have a lot of F-35s. So
Yeah, the biggest quagmire of a military program in world history. They're so advanced, they can't find them sometimes.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, I look forward to talking more about that project, but we need to make sure our numbers are right and get the story together to actually present it in a more cohesive way. But I think that's it for questions.
That is it for questions. Yeah. So if you want to know more about Neom,
just Google NEOM. You'll learn quick.
And also, if you want to visit there, good luck. Go
well,
find someone.
They're hiring. They're hiring. They're hiring plenty of, and they're building resorts and everything, so it'll be open to the public one day. It's just not
Eventually.
now. But, I think that's it. If you have questions, dirttalk@buildwith.com goes right to Harrison, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, stay dirty, everybody.